So during the Epic Dash event, we got a ton of buffs. Part 1 has all these buffs are active during the entire event, the whole 2 months, and then Part 2 is active for 3 days during certain weeks. When they edited this on 9/2, they kind of bricked the formatting, and this is really annoying to read now, so I did waste my time making it look nicer somewhere else. One thing is that with these time windows, there's actually a week where you can squeeze in. You can save all your mail energy and then dump it on one day and pop a scroll that we got from the World Cup. And that'd be really good use of your energy. And you would still be able to save all your mail energy for the next Part 2 buff event because of the 2-week long gap. So I will go over that. And then one other thing is that I've seen people ask if these buffs are going to be split up, like one per week slot. But there's 6 buffs here and only 5 weeks. So these are probably not split up, especially because 3 of these buffs are just general ones, EXP, account EXP, and gold. And nothing here really indicates that they'll be split up either. So here we can see all of the buffs for the Epic Dash event. Part 1, which is permanently active during the event, gives you 10% Rift Gear, 50% Hunt Mats, 50% AP, 2x runes, and all altars open. This is pretty similar to a standard buff event. The only difference is that the usual 20% Rift Gear is only 10% bonus now, and you don't have the gold or EXP buffs. Instead, during Part 2, which will be at varying times throughout the event, which I'll show in a bit, you get an additional, I assume, because there's no reason for them to decrease the Hunt and AP from 50 to 20. Probably an additional 20% on the Rift, giving you 30% total, an extra 20% Hunt Mats for 70, and an extra 20% AP for 70 as well. Then also 30% gold, 30% hero EXP, and I think this is a new buff, 30% account EXP, probably for the new players. One thing you'll notice is that 2x runes is active the whole time, and you get no extra bonuses for runes in Part 2 except for the gold. So if you needed to farm runes, then definitely do it during Part 1, because it's much more efficient to farm Rift, Hunt, or AP during Part 2, since you have the additional bonuses stacked on top. Normally it's 20% boosted to 30, 50 boosted to 70, 50 boosted to 70, while runes is just the same as usual. And then if you're like me and you can clear Rift and you plan on farming Rift during Part 2, but you still want to do Heroes Path missions for some reason, getting the Heroes Path missions out of the way during this Part 1 is pretty good, because this is just the normal efficiency, or the normal hunt buff for Hunt Mats and AP. Though do keep in mind that obviously you're missing the 30% gold and the 30% hero EXP. But if you were going to farm Rift anyways, then you might as well be doing your Hunt and AP missions while you have this boost. Now we can take a look at the times for these buffs. So it's currently Friday. Part 1 already started, and this is just active. And the Save Your Mail Energy is referring to... So this Dash Part 2 starts on the 15th. If you do all your web event, ad, whatever stuff, on Sunday a little bit later, and then don't use any of your mail energy for this whole week, on this Sunday you'll have this whole week's worth of mail energy, plus whatever energy you would normally get, and you can blow it all during the Part 2 buff. So that's pretty much what that is. Just save your mail energy 1 week before. And then one thing though is I wake up pretty late on Sundays, and normally sometimes I just sleep past my usual FX7 playing time, so I do my stuff later in the day, especially when I need to, or specifically when I need to save mail energy like this, just so there's no chance that I let it expire. Stuff like the check-in rewards and guild energy tends to get given to you way earlier, so I make sure to use those up, because those will probably expire by then. But everything else that you can control, just do it a bit later in the day and it's fine. And then this Part 2 buff lasts for 3 days. It starts on Sunday reset and ends on Wednesday reset, so it's a 3-day period. Since at least for global in the US, the Wednesday reset is super early. But either way, it's 3 days time, and then the buffs start and end at based on your server time, because it's based on your server reset. So then this September is pretty bare. One thing is, if you are somebody who always saves your mail energy, I always have my mailbox full pretty much, and I only use the expiring energy just in case for surprise buff events. Then on this Friday and Saturday, you do have a quick time frame to blow all of your mail energy and potentially pop a scroll. and still have time to save all your mail energy for the Epic Dash Buff Part 2 event. And then there's a second window here from this 18, 19, 20. If you start saving on any of these 3 days, then on the 25, 26, and 27, you can blow all of your mail energy and potentially pop a scroll, because we got some scrolls during the Epic 7 World Cup. So, like I mentioned, runes, if you need runes, then this is a really good time to do it, because you just have a free rune buff, pretty much, and you'll be able to blow a bunch of mail energy without worrying that you're, like, wasting energy, essentially, because of opportunity cost and whatnot, for the other buffs. Because normally it goes runes, hunt, so you only really have 1 day's worth of energy that couldn't have just gone into hunt or rift. So instead here you have a full week to burn on 1, potentially 2 slots. Aside from runes, you could do hunt or AP. AP is a little bit rough because you're missing out on the 30% hero EXP bonus and also the 30% gold. And then for hunt, you're missing out on the 30% gold. I personally did a hunt scroll on this Tuesday because I wanted to do the Heroes Path missions for fun. So I just did a scroll, burned out like 400 hunts in 12 hours. And that was all of my energy, because we also had the 2000 energy from the World Cup. And then I do plan on burning another hunt scroll during this gap week. So that's one way you could use up some of the scrolls we got from the World Cup. And then aside from that, in September on the 28th, you do want to start saving your mail energy for October 5th. This is when the next buff part 2 starts, and it lasts for 3 days, Saturday through Monday. And then you start saving on Tuesday, and you could start saving earlier if you don't want to play on a Monday. You could start saving Monday instead, and you would still make it, because every single week, every single starting Saturday on October, we'll have a part 2 event. Though there is one thing to keep in mind, is that I don't know if they'll update this, but as it stands on the stove post, it says that part 1 ends on Monday 28 reset, and part 2 ends on Tuesday 29 reset. So this means that there's pretty much a full day where you have part 1 or part 2 and not part 1. This is basically the most inefficient day, especially if you're farming AP or hunt, because you lose 50% of your bonus and you're left with 20. So make sure to use all of your energy on the 26th and 27th. Don't leave it for this last day. I don't know if they'll update that so it covers, because I think it's pretty weird to have this one day where it doesn't really work. But I hope this video helped anybody who either wasn't aware of these timings or just didn't know that there was a little gap week here where you can burn a scroll pretty freely. And hopefully you guys managed to get something from these buff events.